Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 5762 of remote learning. Hope everyone had a great weekend. It was beautiful outside. We spent pretty much the entire weekend out there. There were no devices. We went for bike rides. Nathaniel and his buddy built a catapult. Or if you join tomorrow, I'll show you what that looks like. We had a nice dinner outside. Last night we played some board games in the backyard. Just beautiful weather. It was needed to get outside. Today's supposed to be nice. Tomorrow's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to get cooler as the week goes on. So hopefully we can get done with our schoolwork today and get outside. Those of you who took the quiz on Friday, especially for Mrs. Keogh's class, your average was fantastic. That Ms. Keogh's class, your average was a 93 for the class, so congratulations. Those of you who didn't do so well on the quiz, I wonder if you watched the video I made on Friday. I know most of you didn't because there was only 9 people that watched it. And if you struggled, that might be one of the reasons, because I went over the entire quiz and went over everything that you were going to need to help you pass that quiz in that video. So I suggest you watch the videos. And if you're not watching this video, can't help you. If you are, great job, because that's what I'm here for. Help you out, talk you through the lesson. So today we have about a week and a half left of this chapter. Today we're getting into some equations that are going to go with figuring out sequences and patterns and how to use equations to solve those. So let's get right into it. So here we are inside the chapter. This is lesson 5, I believe. For this, I'm just going to go through, it's what we did last week, but just making it a little bit more formal. Instead of just writing out what the missing numbers were and what the rule was, we're going to use that rule to actually write an equation. So if the rule last time was like add 3, minus 4, multiply by 5, divide by 8, whatever it is, we're just going to be looking at that today and just writing it into an equation. So let me just do that. All right, so let's take a look. This first one here, we're going to have a chart, and on that chart we're going to see that there is most of the charts that were given within this chapter, within this section, have 2 labels. Now it might be rows or it might be columns, but either way, one of them is going to say output and the other one's going to say input. Now let's look at those words. Input means we're putting something in. Output means we're getting something out. So if we're looking at an equation, if we're looking at, say, 2 plus 2 equals, that's a bad equals, 4, over here, these are our inputs. We're putting these 2 digits in, and our output is the product, is what comes out when we're all done. So when we're looking at these today, and for the next couple days of the work that we're going to be doing, just remember that input is what we're putting in, output is what we're getting out. So when you're writing an equation today, you want to make sure that when we're talking about input and output, that input is going to be on one side of the equation and output is going to be on the other side after the equal sign of the equation. So for this one, it says determine the rule for the table below, complete the table, and write an equation to describe the pattern. So what do we know? Well, we know that we're going to have an unknown, and then we're going to have either a plus or a minus, a multiply or a divide. We're going to have a digit, and then we're going to have whatever our y is over here. All right. So let's take a look. If we look at 6 to 10, what's the difference between 6 and 10? 2, right? 4. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we could say x plus something, x plus 4, because that's going to be what our area is, equals y, which is actually, so x is 6, and then plus 4, and then our y is already telling us is 10. And then we've written out our equation. All right, so that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. We're going to have to figure out what that equation actually is. So just like we had, x plus 4 equals y. And if we keep on going through and using that equation to fill out this chart, if we do 8, because 8 is x, plus 4 is our known, equals, and then we have to figure out what y is, right? Y is right over here. We know that 8 plus 4 is 12. And if we keep on going across, 11 plus 4 is 15. 20 plus 4 is 24. 25 plus 4 is 29. Instead of last week where we just filled in the numbers, we're going to have to write whatever the equation is that we're going to use to solve filling in that chart. So we're just adding one extra step on top of what we did last week. Last week you just filled in the chart and you just knew the equation in your head. This week I'm just asking you to write out the actual equation so that we can see what system it is that we're using to fill in this question. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. All right, at a park near Liam's house, there's a pavilion that can be rented for parties. The rental cost is the number of hours rented multiplied by 8. So they're giving us some information inside of here, right? They're telling us that we are going to be using something multiplied by 8. Now we're going to complete this table to show, or complete the table below to show the rest of the missing actual numbers. So for this one, what's going to be our equation? Well, they're giving us h, and input, so we know input is on the left side of the equation. All right. We know that we're multiplying because it tells us in the word problem that we're multiplying. And then we know that it's telling us that we're multiplying by 8. And then if we keep on going with the equation, what's going to be on the other side of our equal sign? Well, this time it's going to be d and not y. All right, it tells us right here, output is d. So now that we have our output filled out, here's our equation. 8 times, or h times 8 equals d. So if I were to do the first one here, 2 times 8 equals, and I know my answer is going to be 16. This is going to be 16. All right. If I keep on going with my equation and filling it in, now h is 4. H, input, telling me it's 4, and then I'm multiplying it by 8, because that's what it told me inside of the word problem. And then I gotta figure out what is d, what my output is. So 4 times 8, and then my answer is gonna be 32. And I would just keep on going through and filling in this chart: 16, 32, 48, and 64. And I got my chart filled out. But this is what we're really looking for today, is one, that you continue filling out the chart like we did last week, telling us using what the rule is, but this time when we're telling what the rule is, we're just writing out an equation for what that actual rule is. Remember, this equation was h, which is the input, multiplied by 8, told us in the word problem, equals our output, and our output letter was d to stand for what was missing. All right? And then once we fill those in, we won't need them anymore. So let's look at this next one, example 1. Mr. Mathis is creating a table to show how input numbers are changed. Write an equation to describe the pattern in the table. So here, they're already giving us the start of the pattern. So if we look at this over here, the start of our pattern is x, which is our input. X is over here on the left side of the equal sign. Plus, we have to figure out what this number is in the word problem last time it told us, and what our output here is y. So if we already know some of these answers, we can take 2 and 9. We got 2 plus what is going to give us our output of 9. And we got to figure out, well, 2 plus what is 9? 7. Let's see if that continues. 4 plus what is 11? 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, keeps on going with 7. 6 plus 7 equals 13. So the rule, and this is what we did last week, was the rule was to add 7. This week, we're not taking it up by writing the equation x plus 7 equals y. Our input number, our our known input number, and then our y, or our output number, our unknown, what we're trying to get out of the equation. And if we keep on going through, we'd be able to fill out the rest of this chart. All right, last example, or second to last example. The pizza shop offers $3 off an order of $10. Use the rule and the equation to find the next 4 output numbers. So here is the tricky part. This one, they're giving us 2 sets of numbers in the word problem, and we have to figure out which one we're going to use. It gave us $3 off, and it gave us anything over $10. But it's asking us right here to find out how much money they're going to actually be spending. Over $10, they could be spending any amount of money over $10. That's not really telling us how much they're spending. It's just telling us what they're spending over a purchase over $10. But it's telling us that anything over that amount, you have to take away $3. So if somebody were to purchase a pizza for $11, we take away 3, we're getting 8, and that's what they're paying. So that's what the equations tell us right here. C, which is our input, minus the $3 equals D, our output. So let's look at this. If I have $12 right over here, I'm going to spend 12. I'm going to take away 3. How much is my pizza order going to cost? All right, it's going to cost me $9. If I have $14 and I take away 3, how much am I going to spend? I spend $11. Now notice here they're putting in the dollar sign. If you have a problem on the work today and you don't put in the dollar sign to label your amount, it's going to get marked wrong. So make sure you always put in the correct label amount. If it's miles, put in M or miles. If it's dollars, you got to make sure you put in that dollar sign. So let's look at the next one. 16 minus 3, what's going to be our answer? 13, thanks to that equation that we figured out. And then 18 minus 3 is going to give me an answer of 15, and I filled in my chart. Pretty similar to what we did last week. We're just, like I said, we're just ratcheting it up by adding in that equation. All right, moving forward, we know we got the correct answers, and this is just telling us to write out all the numbers, so it would be $9, $11, $13, $15. All right, last one. Guided practice. We are going to write an equation that describes the pattern and then use this equation to fill in what's missing. So what do we have? We know our, let me get a pen. We know we have our input and our output in the chart. It's already labeled for us. So our input is A, it says it right here. All right. Something, we got to figure out what this symbol is going to be: add, subtract, multiply, or divide. We got to find what our unknown number is right here, and then our output is B. So A, add, subtract, multiply, divide by some sort of number equals B. So let's take a look. What's the difference between 5 and 9? I know in my head that the difference between 5 and 9 is 4. So I'm going to be adding 4 to 5 to get to my output, which is B. So let's take a look. 5, all right, A, my input, plus 4, and then my output is B, equals 9. And if I keep on filling that out, 17 plus 4, I'm going to have 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. And 25 plus 4 is 29. All right. Make sure you watch clip 2.